Shalom, Yasharallah. First and foremost, I'd like to give all glory, honor, and infinite praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, HaKodash. Double honors to the beloved elders and the apostles at Great Millstone that taught me this truth. Peace and salutations to all you hopeful elect Akim out there laboring, that are pushing this word in truth and in sincerity. This is your brother Amar from the GMS Boise, Idaho camp. And I'm doing this lesson, just based on the fact of back to the basics. This lesson is inspired based on this picture that you're seeing. And this caption is, scientists warn that pigs can carry parasites that survive cooking, with some species laying up to 1,500 eggs daily inside the human body. So I saw this picture. This is going viral around online. And I thought it would be a good chance, to reiterate the point, of the benefits of eating the clean biblical diet as the law of the scripture says, which goes over the foods that you can and cannot eat, and I'm just, there's a unclean or table of abominations poster that is more of a 3, 4, 5 years back, was very prevalent. A lot of camps have that picture to this day, but it came out with a bunch of animals on a table that are symbolically, unclean, which is like the rabbit, the eel, fish without scales, fish without fins, animals that chew the cud but don't have a split hoof, animals that are certain birds, that are vultures, scavengers. There's a reason why Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai sets clear guidelines of what Israelites can and cannot eat. So the characteristics of the animals that Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai tells us not to eat, is not just because he doesn't want us to taste that. It's for the fact that it's beneficial, and the purpose of those animals, because not every animal's creation, or not every animal is created to eat. Not everything is food. You're not a fucking beast. You're not a little toddler. Everything you see on the floor, you think you can put in your mouth. No, we're not beasts. So that's why we have the law, which separates us from these animals. And you can say that these people are animals by eating all these abominations. So that's why, brothers, check your labels. If you go get tacos, obviously ask if they cook with vegetable oil or manteca. And manteca is pig lard or pig fat, which a lot of fucking Issacharite, or let me say a lot of Mexican restaurants that are Issacharites, cook with, because we have been taught the ways of our oppressor. So Salakia for rambling, but I wanted to get straight to the point of the scriptures, meaning that the law, this is Leviticus 11 and 7 on the law of the swine, specifically the pig. And the swine, which is another word for pig, though he divide the hoof and be cloven footed, because it's talking about the type of foot that they have, yet he cheweth not the cud. He is unclean to you. And cheweth not the cud, if you've ever seen a cow's jaw, it moves side to side. It moves side to side to side when it eats. I mean, it goes up and down, but it literally goes side to side when you see it. That's what's called chewing the cud. They have certain characteristics of the way that they eat their food. But a pig cheweth not the cud, meaning he just devours anything. You can throw a whole rotten corpse of a rat, and they're going to just fight over it and eat it. You throw a whole body in there, they're going to devour everything, man. The poop, the sac in your body that holds the shit, in the small and large intestine that no other animal would eat, he's eating that, man. So it's important that you don't take Christianity's word for the interpretation of the Bible, because Christianity will have you eating all of these abominations and saying, just praying it in sweet Jesus' name. We'll make it clean. Nah, man, it's a fucking straight lie that the devil told you to have you in a consistent state of being sick, depending on his so-called health care, his medicines, which are nothing more than pharmakia, because Esau knows that when an Israelite, a so-called Negro, Latino, Native American, eats these abominations, their body just gets diseases, parasites, and we as a people are more susceptible to the curses that come from eating abominable foods because we have made this pact with the law, with Yahweh Bashem Yahushai through the law of the scriptures. And there's plenty of examples in the scriptures of what do you call it? Leaders of Israel. I'm thinking of Eleazar, but as well as examples in the scriptures of different Jakes that did not eat abominable foods and suffered consequences. There's also the account of Daniel and the king's table when he decided to do an experiment, and say that the certain group of men, which there was 10 on each side, were gonna eat nothing but pulp, and pulp is just like vegetables, etc. But the point being is that the men that were eating at the king's table were not as fat, and not as fat means they weren't as healthy as the men that were eating the abominations from the king's table. So I'm just gonna read this and go straight to the point from 2 Maccabees 6, and I'm gonna go to the 18th verse because I want to go straight to the point. This is 2 Maccabees 6 and 18. Eleazar, which is one of the elders of the time, one of the principal scribes, an aged man, and of a well-favored countenance, was constrained to open his mouth and to eat swine's flesh. But he, choosing rather to die gloriously than to live stained with such an abomination, spit it forth, and came of his own accord to the torment, as it behooved them to come that are resolute, which means you stand firm with what you believe, to stand out against such things as are not lawful, for love of life to be tasted. And the love of life to be tasted is not because pork tastes good, it's because he would have continued his life and not been thrown into the torment and been unalived, as well as, the next story that I'm going to read about. There's a reason why these examples are in the scriptures. And just because it's in the Apocrypha doesn't negate it from the law of the whole Bible. Talking about there's reasons why there's examples, laws, statutes, and commandments, stories, and the prophets that have recorded this for us to read it in this time. Because it is important for you not, even to this day, to eat abominations. And the sheet with 4 corners with all types of abominable beasts in it was not an excuse for you to eat swine's flesh. Talking about the vision that the Apostle Paul received before he went and met Cornelius. So back to the example of not eating abominable meats and the examples of that our forefathers went through for us to understand why this is such a looked over but very important walk, and it's like a very important journey in your walk with Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Because for you to think that even the smallest of commandments is not something that you really need to follow because it doesn't fit your lifestyle is gonna be accounted to you as like you committed one of the worst things. Like there's a scripture that goes into that. And before I get into this account of 2 Maccabees chapter 7, what's it? Salakia. Commandments shall be called least. Okay, this is Matthew 5 and 19. Call Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. So if you're out there spewing the madness of, oh, the law's done away with, or you don't have to worry about what you eat, because we already know that what we eat in the state of captivity is abominable food, is polluted bread among the Gentiles. The grills that even our clean meat is cooked on is polluted. So that's why we're not judged by the law. But you're not going to blatantly put swine's flesh, shrimp, fucking cocktails, micheladas with fucking camarones all around it, in a fucking bucket, in your mouth, man. It's not going to happen. Continuing, Salakia, but whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. Call halal Yahweh Shemi Ashak, because I know brothers ain't no fucking sneaking a pork chop sandwich, some fucking what do you call it? Tacos de pastor al lado, fucking chicharrones and all types of abominations just when the brother's not around. Fuck that shit, man. You have seen the benefit if you have lived this lifestyle of the most closely biblically diet that we can eat, which is cooking your meat and not eating abominations, and eating and not cooking your food at certain times of the week, because if it falls on the Sabbath, you have seen the improvement in your health, and to think that, one of these least commandments, because let's face it, it's not hard for you to not put something in your fucking mouth. That's one of the first things that you teach a toddler. Don't put this in your mouth. You're gonna get sick. You're gonna hurt yourself. Don't put that in your mouth. And here you got grown adults not knowing what and what not to put in their mouth with these abominations on what they sustain their daily life with. So before I get too much rambling, I want to get back to the scriptures. 2 Maccabees chapter 7, which is another example, straight to the point of our ancestors being forced to eat abominations, and not to mention when the Grecians came through and sacked the temple, and the Romans came through and sacked the temples, they would always sacrifice a pig on the altar. And that is recorded even in the Josephus, that they would make it a point to make the altar desecrated it with swine's blood so that they can fucking just be the demons that they are, man. But the point being is that they would bring a pig to every altar to desecrate it, to make sure that the sacrifices of the Israelites cannot continue to go up on that altar because it's polluted. You'd have to break it down. But this is 2 Maccabees 7 and verse 1. It came to pass also that 7 brethren with their mother were taken and compelled by the king against the law to taste swine's flesh, and were tormented with scourges and whips. And if you go into the account of 2 Maccabees chapter 7, and I'm not going to in this lesson, because I wanted to go straight to the point, but Baba Gashah, go read that whole lesson, that whole chapter, and you're going to see what these men went through for simply not eating swine's flesh. And you got people that, oh no, Hebrew Israelites, no, I heard you can't eat no pork, Ak. I heard you can't have no fucking chicharrones tacos and fucking veal or whatever, man. Veal is just cows that are killed less than a year old. Their muscles have been, messed up because they've been forced to sit in a little cage, which is another inhumane act. And then according to our law, man, we weren't eating anything, more than a year old. We would let animals live their life cycle out at least for a year. So, and back to the point of these abominable meats, you have our people openly and proudly, going against the laws, frying open the fire, roasting whole alligator. In the nasty videos that I see online of the Moabites, as well as Jake down south, man. For some reason, Jake down south like to eat fucking python and alligator and fucking raccoon and all types of fucking nasty shit, man. But again, we can see the point of the scriptures of why it is beneficial for us to follow the law, statutes, and commandments to the best of our ability, in the time that we have the freedom so-called to choose what we put in our mouth. Because in the time of chattel slavery, you would get thrown a whole chitlins or whatever, and Jake would make it do what it do, man. Judah, that's where chitlins came from, man. Slave food. And you still to this day are eating slave food? You got me fucked up, man. And the fact that we have to come out here and tell you these things, hey, man, it is what it is. It's the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai telling you, Jake, to, take care of your body, take care of your temple, don't pollute it, because like I said before, one of the first things that the Grecians and the Romans did when they sacked temples of the Israelites was sacrifice swine's flesh, sacrifice a pig, let the blood flow on the altar, man. So point blank period, man. If you don't believe me, go look it up for yourself. But Lord willing that this lesson was edifying unto the elect and to the believers, and 1/3 scattered throughout the world. 1/3 here in Babylon the Great, and the innumerable multitude scattered, to the believers around the world. Lord willing that this lesson was edifying unto the elect. Till next time, I would like to give all glory, honor, and infinite praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Chodash, and double honors to the beloved elders and the apostles at Great Millstone that taught me this truth. And peace and salutations to all you hopeful elect Akim out there laboring, that are pushing this word in truth and in sincerity. Till next time, Lord willing, shalom.